Hello. I just wanted to talk a little bit about breathing today. I just wrote a blog about that and how important it is to breathe correctly when you're playing saxophone or any wind instrument, even voice, by the way. I thought I would just give you the spiel that I give my beginner students when they come in, often breathing through their nose, which is a no-no. I'll tell you why in a minute. Or breathing through their mouth, but without taking their embouchure away from the mouthpiece. So essentially breathing through the horn. Yikes! If you knew what was in there, you wouldn't do that. So what I basically tell them is, first of all, you need a big tank of air. It takes a lot of air to play with an instrument. But most people, when I say that, most people think that I mean by blowing a lot of air into the instrument, across the reed, say. But that's not really it. What we really need to do is to keep the air inside. So I use a couple of analogies. One is a beach ball versus a basketball. If you have a beach ball and you puncture it, it sort of just goes, and it sort of stays maybe slightly round, just the initial air comes out. If you had a basketball and you could puncture it, boy, there would be lots of air coming out from that puncture for a long time. So that pressure, sort of the outward pressure on the air, is what we have to have inside. So if you take a breath through your nose, you just can't get enough air quick enough to sustain that pressure. Okay, so the other part of the breathing process on saxophone is once you take enough air to keep the pressure on with the muscles, basically, of your tummy, abdomen, lungs, whatever, keep that pressure going. So I remember hearing this when I was a young student, and I couldn't figure out what was being said, really. My teachers, especially when I got to college, it takes a lot of air to play softly, right? And so after lots of trial and error and continuing to think about that, what that means is keeping the air inside, keeping the pressure ready to support a nice whisper of a sound. I'll demonstrate a little of that in a second. The other analogy about breathing through your nose that I always use, I say to my students, if I asked you to get up right now and run around this building and then come back in, when you got done, you would definitely be breathing out of your mouth because your body is saying, "Hey there," right? You wouldn't. No one is hustling and breathing through their nose. You just can't get enough air, and so that seems to strike a bell with them, and I think it's important that they understand that the best way to get air into the saxophone is just relax the corners of your mouth and breathe air in through the corners of your mouth, basically. It made sense to me in 6th grade when I heard that, and I tried to apply it. Now, some students breathe through their mouth but through the horn. Awful. You don't want to do that. The other thing about relaxing your face, basically, and sucking air in, it gives your embouchure a break. And I'll notice this with beginning students, they're saying, "I am breathing through my mouth." No, you're not. I can tell because your chops are tired because you never take it away from the mouthpiece. It's always constantly there, and you're breathing through, and you never give your face a chance to relax. So it really is a twofold issue. One is you get, every few minutes or a minute or so, you get to take a breath and relax the muscles of your face and then reapply the embouchure and go. So I'm just going to play a little bit. I referenced a video of Paul Desmond, one of my favorite players. Great sound, beautiful sound. Really never played extremely loud, but always had a well-supported, beautiful, ringing, bell-like dry martini tone. So it's a song called Emily, and it's a live version of him playing. I believe it's in California somewhere, but you get a really good sense of how he breathes. He breathes when he's thinking, and he breathes to help his phrasing, and most of all, he breathes through his mouth to support a great sound. So I'm just going to play some medium things. Hopefully you'll be able to see my corners will just drop, and I'll take a breath through my mouth. I keep my top teeth on most of the time. If you watch Stan Getz, he'll actually take his top teeth off altogether of the mouthpiece. I think I tend to stay anchored, which is, both are fair. tried to articulate there a little bit stronger than I normally would, just because that's one other great thing about having enough air and support inside your body, keeping that air there at the ready. You're more able to articulate clearly and articulate the way you want to or need to, as the case may be. If you don't have enough air support, it's almost like I feel like students are sort of squeezing air into the across the reed, and you just can't articulate clearly that way. So anyway, breathe through the corners of your mouth. You can keep your teeth on top of the mouthpiece if you want, but most of all, you just want to relax your embouchure. Breathe in. Take a full deep breath and keep that air in there as long as possible. I only use enough air to produce the volume of sound that I want. And I'll play one more time real quick. I know we're running long here. But if you remember I said this, if you want to play soft, you need to take a big breath and keep a lot of air inside. So you should be able to control that. There's lots of different exercises out there you can do. But you should be able to control that volume pretty well and keep a nice full round sound even when you're whispering. Takes a little practice, but it's a great thing to keep in mind.